because although the baby has some incredible power without having to wield the Darksaber, I think the baby is so curious about what this is. So you will be enthused and inspired when you see the scene I'm referring to in season 2, which is to come in October. Keep watching. It feels powerful, it feels wonderful. I broke 3 of them last week. The prop guys are wondering about me because I was in, a bit of a commotion and a bit of a struggle with someone else, which I'm hoping you will enjoy when you see it. Major, epic lightsaber action happening on this show, and I should mention that I'm the only character in this first season who was able to be honored with having that lightsaber, so it feels wonderful. I have been able to get my hands on the baby Yoda, and I feel like we need to be able to physically, I love to be able to touch the baby. Oh my goodness, that baby's ears, when you just touch its ears, it's just so cool. It really feels real as well, so pretty amazing.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my new Mandalorian Season 2 video. Giancarlo Esposito, the person who plays Moff Gideon, was talking all about what's going on with Baby Yoda and all the Darksaber, lightsaber fight scenes that he has during Season 2. So we'll break it all down. If you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. I'll be doing Mandalorian Season 2 videos during the off-season. I'll also talk about when they're going to release the Mandalorian Season 2 trailer. We'll just do this top 5 WTF style, starting with number 5. Giancarlo Esposito was at a comic book convention recently talking about The Mandalorian Season 2, what's going to happen with his character Moff Gideon, now that we know he has the Darksaber, and he's already had his first encounter with the Mandalorian, Baby Yoda, and his team. He spent a lot of time talking about what he had to change when he was filming with the Darksaber versus using a normal type of sword in scenes, implying that there will be a lot of him using the Darksaber, which I think was just a big tease at the end of the season. Why would you whip something out and then not use it a bunch during Season 2? But the way that Star Wars films lightsaber fight scenes in general is a little bit different when he says he's wielding the Darksaber, because physically, like the hilt and the actual blade itself, the dummy blade that they use when they're filming behind the scenes, is a little bit different from traditional lightsabers. He says that his version of the Darksaber that he's using in scenes has a shorter hilt and the blade is shorter than most lightsabers, so the way he strikes people with it is a little bit different than you would strike someone with a traditional sword. Most lightsabers are all individual and unique to each Jedi that creates them, or each Sith. And if you're like Anakin Skywalker and you have a lot of technical prowess, you can actually make a much more advanced version of a lightsaber. So for instance, on Anakin's lightsaber, there's a lot of extra buttons and dials. Those are for adjusting the blade's length, its width. There are a lot of other Jedi that make lightsabers like that, but some can be made to be a little bit more simple, like Luke Skywalker's green lightsaber that he builds before Return of the Jedi. That doesn't have any special adjustments to it, so it's one single length the entire time. There was a bunch of Giancarlo Esposito talking about the physicality of using the Darksaber that I cut out of that clip, but he does go on for a while just talking about pure fighting technique as an actor. During another part of that clip, he also talks about accidentally destroying 3 Darksabers on set during a particular Season 2 lightsaber fight scene that's supposed to be crazy. So number 4 WTF, what is that Darksaber lightsaber fight scene that he's referring to? Well, they teased the Darksaber at the end of The Mandalorian Episode 8, so of course the next step in Season 2 is watching him use the Darksaber on someone else, either killing a random henchman or a New Republic soldier, like his own version of the Rogue One Darth Vader ending scene where he just tears through all those rebels in the hallway. Also, consider this. At the end of The Mandalorian Episode 8, the Armorer gave the Mandalorian his mission to find any Jedi capable of taking Baby Yoda to care for him and train him as a Jedi, so presumably we'll see more former Jedi who survived Order 66 just hiding out in the Outer Rim. Since Moff Gideon has the Darksaber, it's also implied he may have stolen or collected a bunch of Jedi lightsabers and keeping them as trophies. Maybe at some point he fights someone who just gets their hands on one of those. If he's saying that he's going to have a badass lightsaber fight with the Darksaber, it implies that he's fighting someone who also has a lightsaber, and so far we haven't seen any other lightsabers on The Mandalorian yet, and there's only a couple ways to get one. I think based on what the actor is saying, Giancarlo Esposito, his character is just very learned in Jedi history and Jedi lore. He wasn't a Sith Inquisitor or anything like that. He sounds like he was someone who was in the Imperial Security Bureau who just uncovered a lot of Jedi artifacts after the fall of the Jedi Order in Order 66 and the Great Purge of Mandalore. Like, it's implied that he stole the Darksaber at some point after the Great Purge. So if he's stealing the Darksaber in Mandalorian artifacts, it wouldn't be too much of a jump to see him stealing a bunch of Jedi artifacts too. So early prediction, I'm hoping that once we get the chance to see where his personal quarters are, wherever his flagship is, he has a lot of other Jedi artifacts decorating his office and personal spaces. We saw him use the special TIE Outlander, so I'm hoping that there's at least a Star Destroyer as his flagship, since there aren't very many of those left in the galaxy after the fall of the Empire, and the remnants of the Imperial fleets were either destroyed at the Battle of Jakku or fled into the unknown regions to become the First Order. Even though the bulk of the Imperial fleet that was left over fled into the unknown regions, there are still lots of Imperial assets and ships just all over the galaxy being taken over by warlords. Number 3 WTF, he says during that clip that Moff Gideon does get his hands on Baby Yoda sometime during Season 2. He didn't say which episode, he just says he gets his hands on him and he has a bunch of scenes with Baby Yoda. And as an actor, he just loves working with the puppet version of the child in scenes. But his character, Moff Gideon, thinks more of Baby Yoda as a tool to wield in his attempt to bring quote-unquote order to his territory. And based on the implied cloning plot that they teased through Dr. Pershing's character, eventually used Baby Yoda's power to take over the entire galaxy. But if you watched all the Star Wars movies, you think about that for a minute. I'm really curious to see how this plays out because as badass as he seems, the Mandalorian series isn't going to break the pre-existing Star Wars canon set up by the movies, and that also includes the new movies, and if those are happening about 25 years after the events of the Mandalorian series, 25 to 30 years depending on how much time passes between Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker, during that new period in the future, there's no sign or mention of a Moff Gideon, no clone army of Force-sensitive troopers that he grafted off of Baby Yoda's DNA, not counting all the red Sith troopers from Rise of Skywalker. Those are all different, they don't have anything to do with the Moff Gideon plan. But it all just implies that Moff Gideon is not successful, or he doesn't survive into the events of the new movies, or he's redeemed himself, turned good. One of the other interesting things that Giancarlo Esposito said attracted him to the role of Moff Gideon in the first place as a villain was the idea that there could possibly be some redemption for him. So it's possible he winds up trying to help Baby Yoda by the end of the series instead of just using him like a tool. Number 2, this is also really cool. He said that Baby Yoda also filmed scenes with the Darksaber, and within the series, Baby Yoda is completely fascinated by it, probably because it's so shiny and babies like shiny things that make noises. He kind of addresses it during his talk there, but we all know that Baby Yoda is more intelligent than he looks. And during the panel, Giancarlo Esposito talked about how he's very intuitive and understanding for a baby. I mean, he is 50 years old, so even if Yoda's species matures very slowly compared to humans, he's still way smarter than a human baby at a comparable age. And clearly, he's demonstrated his understanding of the Force enough to know how to force heal people, which is a very complex ability, no matter how simple Rise of Skywalker made it seem. But he does make it pretty clear that there's no way Baby Yoda is taking the Darksaber from him during Season 2, or The Mandalorian for that matter. At least they won't take it from him permanently. I like his rebuttal to those kinds of questions like, no way, definitely not going to be taking that from me anytime soon, but anything is possible in the future, so it just means that in a future season, The Mandalorian might get his hands on the Darksaber. The whole reason that George Lucas created the Darksaber for Clone Wars was because of Jon Favreau's Pre Vizsla character in the Death Watch Mandalorians, which we're also going to see during the Clone Wars Season 7 episodes. When they created that character, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni felt like there were so many Jedi that Pre Vizsla would be going up against during the Clone Wars that he needed some special weapon to make him a physical threat to them. They went to George Lucas, and together they came up with the concept of the Darksaber. Then Dave Filoni came up with its backstory within the Star Wars universe. So same logic, Moff Gideon himself isn't really a big physical threat to the Mandalorian without some special weapons, so that's where the Darksaber comes in. It just gives him a big edge in combat. And number 1 WTF, does Moff Gideon himself saying that he gets his hands on Baby Yoda during Season 2 imply that they're going to do an Empire Strikes Back style sequel season downer ending? Like a cliffhanger where he still has Baby Yoda at the end and they head into Season 3 Return of the Jedi style opening with the big Mandalorian-led rescue mission to save him. I mean, if most of the Mandalorian series takes its inspiration from the original trilogy, if they're going to hit some of those same beats, it's totally possible they do something similar. And if you think about it, Moff Gideon would be a real shit character if he wasn't able to make good on any of his threats, which he's made very clearly at the end of Season 1. Assuming the series runs for 4 or 5 seasons, it's just easy WTF slam dunk to do at least one Empire Strikes Back style ending cliffhanger to a season. But post all your theories in the comments below. What kind of lightsaber battles do you want to see with the Darksaber, and what kind of scenes with Baby Yoda and Moff Gideon do you want to see? I think we all just want to find out what's going on with this crazy implied cloning plot that Dr. Pershing was talking about. The Mandalorian Season 2 release date is in October. We're getting episodes even earlier than we did last year, so really nice surprise, but I'll keep doing bonus videos while we wait for the trailer to get here. The Mandalorian Season 2 trailer will probably drop sometime in the next couple of months. Everyone click here for all my Mandalorian episodes, and click here for my new Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7 Episode 1 video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay awesome. This is The Way.